A MAGA supporting New Jersey Latino business owner is upset because he's getting backlash and is under fire for his recent comments on the news for his support for Donald Trump and Jack Ciattarelli, who's running for governor in New Jersey. Now, he's a Dominican immigrant. He opened up a restaurant called El Primito in Passaic, New Jersey, of all places. And if you know about Passaic, New Jersey, you know it's a mainly Latino community. Passaic, Patterson, that entire area, it's mainly Latinos and a lot of immigrants. So for you to think you weren't going to receive backlash for your support for a man whose policies are against immigrants and Latinos, primarily Latinos, then you thought wrong. You thought the Latinos were just going to be like, okay, yeah, he supports somebody who's against us, especially in the immigrant community. You got your FAFO moment. Tú querías ser un MAGA bicho, ahora tienes. Stay being decent human beings, people.
So the Latino voters are now saying that they regret voting for Donald Trump. But here's the thing. They shouldn't be surprised. So there was a focus group that was conducted by the Bulwark that found that 7 Latino voters from swing states like Nevada, Colorado, Florida, New Jersey, and Virginia all admitted that they regret their 2024 Trump vote. Most gave him a D rating for his presidency, and one gave him a flat-out F. And while it's good that they're realizing it now, let's be honest, the warning signs were there all along. Trump ran on policies that were openly hostile to immigrant communities, promised mass deportations, and built his political career on vilifying Latinos. Yet some still bought into the illusion that he cared about the economy, family values, and now they're shocked that ICE raids are ripping apart neighborhoods and that racism and cruelty are more normalized than ever. That is exactly what voting against your own interests look like. This isn't about regret, it's about accountability. Supporting a man who made demonizing Latinos the cornerstone of his politics was never going to end well. And while pretending that it was a gamble worth taking, that was naive at best and self-destructive at worst. So the polling now shows that Trump is bleeding support among Latino men and young Latinos, the very groups he targeted with culture war distractions. And here's the truth. Culture wars don't pay your bills. Empty slogans don't protect families from deportation. Voting for Trump meant empowering someone who weaponized fear against your own community. Okay, so we need to say this bluntly. It's not enough to realize it after the fact. We cannot afford more voters falling for the same trap in 2026 and 2028 because regret doesn't undo the harm. Families are still separated. Communities are still traumatized. That's the real cost of believing Trump's lies. Latino voters hold enormous power, nearly 1 in 5 Americans, but power only matters if it's used wisely. And if they want real change, they can't keep voting for politicians who treat them as scapegoats and enemies. Trump showed exactly who he was from the very beginning. Believing otherwise wasn't just a mistake, it was a betrayal of your own community. Before you go, if you'd like to support my work, you can grab a bag of coffee from the coffee roaster using my affiliate link. The show gets a small cut from each sale, and plus you'll be helping a local small business thrive. And the best part is that you'll get 10% off of your first order, and they'll ship anywhere in the US. So place your order today using the link in my bio.
If you feel hopeless right now, I'm here to say some Trump supporters are actually regretting their votes. Estimates as high as 1 in 4 people who voted for Trump regret their votes. And on anonymous forums like Reddit, people have poured out their feelings about how much they regret voting for him. People like farmers who have been upset that they're not getting support and money is going to Argentina instead of them. Young voters who feel manipulated by the MAGA movement. And centrists who aren't necessarily committed to a political party have all expressed serious remorse over their vote. The fact that people are admitting that they're not happy with the election and the way things have been with Trump is a serious step in the right direction. As you know, in most cults, people who speak out against the leader are seriously punished. They're ostracized and experience a lot of hostility, which typically prevents them from speaking out in the first place. So although it may feel hopeless and like fascism has been descending upon us for a few years, there actually is a sign of some progress. That's why it's so important to have conversations with these people. If you're a white person and you have family who are Trump supporters, this is a really good time to try to get through to them, especially because a lot of Republicans want the Epstein files to be released, which could be used as a way to find common ground with them and convince them to not be MAGA anymore. Still have a long way to go, but the fact that his approval rating is dropping is a serious sign of good news.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Lika's Tech, the place where we break down stories others don't talk about. So today we are talking about something wild. Some Latino MAGA supporter who once praised Donald Trump are now watching their business collapse. How? And they are regretting their vote for him. So they thought, as a businessman, president would help small business owners, but the reality, it is hit hard. Let's talk about what really happened in the United States on that community everyone called Latinos. So we got a more video like this. Remember that credit goes to the owner of the video. I'll come back with a comment.
This cannot be a surprise to you, can it? Trump supporters, Trump voters are regretting their vote. NBC did an interview with a woman who's 63 years old, who's the caretaker of her 26-year-old daughter, who relies on SNAP benefits. I don't know exactly what the girl's issue is, but she relies on these SNAP benefits just to survive, day-to-day survival. She's the 63-year-old woman sitting back and saying, well, why are they doing this with the ballroom? There's $350 million being spent there, and that's supposed to be private donations, which obviously it's not, because Trump came out last week and said, well, the military is heavily involved. That's your tax dollars. That's my tax dollars. Don't tell me that's being privately funded when the military's involved. Well, this woman's starting to wonder why in the world these people are donating all this money to this ballroom that only a handful of people are ever going to be able to use, when we've got people across the country waiting for their SNAP benefits to be paid out. Now, there's a judge that came out and said you have to pay out these SNAP benefits. Didn't say when it had to be done. He said it had to be done expeditiously. Okay, well, all right, when is expeditious? A week? 3 weeks? I mean, the day before Thanksgiving? How's that going to work out? No one's ever come out and said you have to do it, and you have to do it by such and such a time. It has to be done expeditiously. And what's Trump doing? Said he's going to go ahead and do it, but they don't have enough money because it costs $8 to $9 billion a month for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP benefits, EBT cards, whatever it is you want to call it in your state. Well, he's got to be able to come up with the money somewhere. The judge ordered, hey, you came up with the money to pay ICE. You came up with the money to pay the military. Come up with the money to pay the SNAP program. And you know what? He hasn't come up with a plan yet. They're all still sitting back there wringing their hands going, well, I wonder when we have to do it, if we have to do it at all. I hope you get your benefits if you're a SNAP recipient, but don't be surprised if you don't.
Do you know who is starting to come across my FYP that is totally pissing me off? It's not maggots. Well, it is the maggots. They're a piece of shit and they're dumb as hell. They piss me off every day. But it is this whole group of the Latinos that went and voted for Donald Trump. I guess you could say they fucked around and found out, and they went and voted for a man that we told them do not vote for. They went and voted for the man that said he is going to do exactly what he's doing, and they want sympathy from us? I don't care. I don't care at all. Fuck you, and I hope you get deported.
Do you guys remember this lady? Well, I'm trying not to laugh. This is her now.
It's been happening frequently at the 333 Miami Avenue Federal Court building. Janet Correa's husband was detained this week. According to her immigration lawyer, he has already been placed on expedite removal.
They voted por Donald Trump. Donald Trump deport. You heard that right, guys. Janet Correa, the famous Trump singing lady, has had her husband detained by ICE. And not only that, but he got put on expedited removal. They want him out of the U.S. They don't want him. But of course, we've been telling them this all along. They don't want you, bro. Also, do you remember the time I went viral because I told people to call ICE on Latinos for Trump and the family members of Latinos for Trump? It looks like it's happening, and I couldn't be happier. You reap what you sow, and I stand by what I say. But anyways, play silly games, get silly prizes. Let me know what you guys think.
All right, if this trend holds, it's going to be devastating for Republicans in next year's midterm elections. In a recent focus group that a political strategist convened of entirely Latino Trump voters, every single one said they regretted their vote. So think about that for a second. Focus group of Latino Trump voters. President Trump made huge gains with the Latino community. One of the reasons why he won 2024 in such a fashion as he did, every single Latino Trump voter said they regretted their vote. And it's not rocket science as to why. President Trump his immigration policy has been incoherent, inhumane, targeting Latino communities, racial profiling, people who look like they're part of the Latino community, going into a Home Depot parking lot and apprehending people based on the language they speak or where they are. And then in terms of other issues, right? President Trump has not delivered on his economic promises. We know that 99% of people's incomes are decreasing under the big, beautiful budget bill. The Latino communities are not receiving benefits. Many of them are receiving cuts like other groups in the big, beautiful budget bill. Trump's tariffs are wreaking havoc on the economy. So if every single one of these Latino Trump voters regrets their vote, and a significant portion of the Latino Trump voters vote Democrat, not only are Democrats going to win the House, I think we're going to win 40 to 50 seats next year.
This is how it went.
Very happy and excited that Trump won. As far as financially, obviously nothing's really changed. We're still under the Biden administration, but I know that it is coming.
And this is how it's going.
So I admit, I regret my vote for Donald Trump. I regret it because I needed these changes sooner. I needed the prices to go down sooner so that I didn't drain out my bank account.
Yeah, you regret your vote. And you know what? You're saying that you regret your vote. You're on video here crying your eyes out because you learned the hard way that Donald Trump does not mean lower prices for you. He again stated over and over and over again that he was going to do blanket tariffs. We told you he was going to raise prices. You guys said, no, we don't know what we're talking about. Experts who've studied this for 10 plus years now, they just don't know. And now you're suffering the consequences of raising prices in a shitty economy, and you're begging.
Okay, guys, when Donald Trump ran for president, a lot of Latino business owners believed he was one of them. Strong on economy, tough on taxes, and ready to help small businesses grow. But I think they were wrong, because, when you believe in someone and you realize that he was wrong. But first and foremost, now in 2025, and many of those same people are closing their shops, losing income, and saying we were wrong. They found out they were wrong. Rising cost, trade issue with Mexico, and high rent have hit Latino communities hard. Some say Trump's policies help the rich, not small business owner like them. So, one of the Latino restaurant owner told reporters, I believed he's talking about business, but my bills doubled and customer disappeared. So I am closing the restaurant. This is what's happened when you believe in the guy who's talking about politics. He wants your vote. So that promise to make America great again, for many of them, it's turned into make America business close again. Guys, we got more video like this. Remember that. I'll come back with a comment.
Do you think the Latinos that boycott Latino-owned businesses that support Trump are justified? Well, I 100% do, for the simple fact that you agree with the racial profiling that's happening to Latinos right now, that you agree with the random kidnapping of Latinos nationwide, that you agree with the racism that's going on towards Latinos, that you agree with all the injustices going on right now, that you agree with people not getting simple benefits such as getting food or receiving health care or even education. You agree with all of the things that are wrong with this country right now. Have you taken a look at yourself? MAGA is a white nationalist movement. You don't fit that part. So yes, we think it's justified when we cancel Latino-owned businesses that support Donald Trump. This is your FAFO moment, and we're going to keep applying the pressure. Latinos unidos para siempre. Stay being decent human beings, people. I love you, and I'm out.
I'm joined now by author of The Latino Century and Latino political consultant, Mike Madrid. Mike, thanks for joining me.
Brian, it's always great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So we have some pretty big news here, as the bottom seems to have fallen out with Donald Trump and Latinos, who were, of course, instrumental in his rise to power in this 2024 election cycle. So I'm going to put right here on the screen Donald Trump's approval rating among Hispanics from the AP, you can see that he's got 73% disapprove and 27% approval. That's an 8-point gain in disapproval and a 6-point drop in approval. So some pretty staggering numbers there. First and foremost, what do you attribute this massive shift to?
Well, that's exactly right. Let me just kind of put into context. This is very different from the last time we spoke, which was in the summer, where he was sitting at about a 34% approval rating. They're now down into the 20s. This is getting back into a historical trend line for Republicans before Trump came on the scene. So this is very significant. It may sound a little bit nerdy, but from a technical perspective, Trump is actually falling through his base level fall of support downward and considerably. So it's a big deal. The question then becomes your next question, which is what's driving it? Donald Trump's collapse amongst Latinos began in April, early April, when he had this Liberation Day announcement on tariffs. The economy is overwhelmingly driving this down. There's no question the ICE raids are having a secondary impact and effect on this. That's absolutely true. But his drop in support levels, considerable drop, began 6 weeks before the ICE raids in Los Angeles. It's important for listeners to understand because overwhelmingly and increasingly, the Latino voter is saying that it's affordability and the economy that is driving their voting behavior, not primarily the ICE raids, not immigration. They're both working together to drive the support levels lower. It's ICE raids are clearly having an impact, but they're not the main driver. They're not the main impact of what's happening here. It's the economy, and the economy.
So that would suggest that, the Latino population, notwithstanding the fact that this is still it's not a homogenous block, but still I think with some certainty you can say that the Latino population writ large follows the same trend lines as the rest of the population. Is that right? Because we're seeing the same trajectory among the non-Latino population that's being polled.
That's exactly right. I think the best way to look at it, and again, a lot of people are looking because this is a non-white constituency, is what is the racial or ethnic prism? What is the racial or ethnic issue that is driving these voters? And that's why this kind of stereotype of immigration comes into play. But that's not what the data has said for 30 years, and it's not what the data is saying now. What the data is telling us is that the one cultural characteristic is that this is a blue-collar working class voter that is more price sensitive to things like inflation, to tariffs, which test very, very negatively.
Politics and promises are easy to sell, but the truth show up when the rent is due. This Latino MAGA supporter didn't just lose money, they lost trust, and maybe now they understand the real change isn't about shooters, the loudest, but who actually delivers. Guys, let me know in the comment what do you think about this. Do you think they were betrayed, or did they just believe the long dream? Guys, thank you for watching. My name is Lick, and this is Licka's Take. Keep it real, low, and global. See you in the next one. I love you guys.